Yeah, g'day guys, Steve here from O.A.F Adventures. Just out in the shed, just giving the Zydeco a bit of a clean down. Thought to myself, I'll do a bit of a video. Just to give you a bit of background, I've had the Dagger Axis over the last couple of years and an Intex Excursion Pro, so I had a little inflatable, and I had the Dagger Axis 10.5 crossover kayak. Got in a bit of a consolidation mode last year where I was sort of cleaning out my shed and sorting out a lot of stuff and just reconciling, you know, my lifestyle and that sort of stuff. And got in a mad rush and sold the Dagger Axis and the Intex Excursion Pro and thought I'll get a Sea Eagle 300X, that'll do everything I want to do. Wasn't really thinking that straight. But anyway, that's what I did and thought, yeah, right, beautiful, a bit more room with the shed now. Got to the warmer months in spring here in Victoria and thought, oh, geez, it'd be nice to have the Dagger Axis here. I'd go out and do a bit of exercise. And I'd forgotten in my mad rush of consolidation that I actually used the Dagger Axis, not just for camping and fishing and touring and that sort of stuff, but also exercise. I used to go out, the 2 years that I owned it, in both spring and summer, I would just take it out on the lake or lake at Blue Rock and just go for a paddle. I wouldn't take anything, take a fishing rod or anything. I'd just go for a paddle just as an upper body workout, you know. And I'd sort of forgotten that through the winter. And so we got to the warmer months this year and I'm going, oh, geez, I would love to take the bloody Dagger Axis out if I hadn't bloody sold the thing. So, long story, but anyway, jumped back online, started looking for another Dagger Axis. I was really pleased with the Dagger Axis, but again, couldn't sort of find one, so I just ended up seeing the Zydeco pop up, and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. That's the previous model to the Dagger Axis, and I thought, God, that looks like it'd be worth having a look at. It was pretty cheap, $350. I thought, I can't really go wrong at that. But other than that, I couldn't sort of find anything that I liked. So I thought, oh yeah, it's a little bit longer, but looks pretty similar. Jumped online, of course, to find some reviews and some information about the Zydecos and really couldn't find a lot, which I find a bit frustrating. So I make it my business if I own a kayak or a motorbike, I always do some sort of review just to help out people, you know, in the world of YouTube. So if you're looking at a product, a motorbike, a kayak, or some camping gear and that sort of stuff, I do the videos so you can get my thoughts and feelings on that particular product, the kayak or the motorbike or whatever it is. So the video is about the Zydeco 11.0 compared to the Dagger Axis 10.5. Couple of the key differences straight up, obviously the length, 10.5 feet, which I think the Dagger Axis is about 3150 in metric terms, and the Zydeco is 11. I think it was 3450, I think. So a couple 100 mm difference in length. That's the big difference. The fit out's reasonably the same. You've got your really nice seat and some basic thigh padding. You've got the rear hatch with the bulkhead in it. You've got your foot pegs up the front here. But there is some other differences in the Dagger Axis. It had a little console here and some more flotation up in the front, fixed up in the front here. The Zydeco doesn't have that. So it's just pretty plain inside there. A little bit more room behind the seat because it's a longer kayak, which is good in the Zydeco. And the hatch at the back, the bulkhead, as I say, so fairly similar sort of setup kayak. There's a couple of critical differences though that affect the handling of these two boats. First and foremost is the drop-down skeg on the Dagger Axis. The Zydeco does not have a drop-down skeg. So the Dagger Axis would track a lot better. The Zydeco, you stop paddling and it just turns. If you're hitting swell from an angle from 2 o'clock or from 10 o'clock, the Zydeco just dives off and you're almost paddling on one side to keep it straight. So I really noticed that straight up. The bow's slightly different, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I felt like it was worth actually trying to fit a skeg system to this. As I say, paddling it with a swell at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, it would diverge off. Into the swell, it was okay. With the swell, it was okay. Sideways, not too bad. But yeah, just that when you were traveling it sort of, you know, perpendicular to the wind direction, it really did want to go off track, and it was bad enough. And certainly if you stopped paddling, whichever side you paddle on last, it would just turn that way, and I'll drop some footage of that in. So what I ended up doing is buying a general purpose sea kayak skeg. It's just a drop down one, a swing down one. I'll drop some footage in of that. And I set it up with some bungee cords and that has worked really well. That has got it handling nearly as good as the Dagger Axis. It's sort of like it's tracking probably very close to as good as the Dagger Axis, but certainly it's plenty good enough now where you can just be paddling straight, doesn't matter where the swell's coming from, and it'll paddle and keep itself straight. So that was good. The other big difference with this one is the bow shape. So the Dagger Axis has more of a inverted, less dead rise sort of bow, like a sea kayak. So it has more of a keeled bow with a hollow section in behind the bow, as opposed to the Zydeco, which has more dead rise, has more of a rounded bow. And so the Dagger Axis would cut through the waves a lot better, and so it would track a lot better, and so it was a tiny little bit faster than the Zydeco. But the payoff is, of course, or the compromise is that there's not as much dead rise, and so it would go through waves rather than rise up and over. The bow of the Zydeco is somewhere between the Dagger Axis and the Dagger Katana. The Katana has a very rounded bow. It's a real crossover kayak that can go into white water, so it's got quite a lot of dead rise and quite a round bow, and hasn't got the keel effect in the front there. Dagger Axis has a lot more keel, but the Zydeco is somewhere in between, so to speak. When you get into the bigger swells, the Zydeco is better because it just rises up and over it. With that dead rise, it rises up and over the swells. I've had this out in waves probably up to about 2 foot, so 600 mil. Quite rough conditions, probably shouldn't really be out in the kayak, but I felt quite safe, didn't feel like it was going to tip over. Paddled with the swell, into the swell, sideways to the swell, the whole lot, and it really handled well, I've got to say. This, in that situation, on those rough conditions, the Zydeco would be better. And likewise, if you were going to go down some, maybe class 1 or 2 rapids, just when you hit those river waves and that sort of stuff, the Zydeco would lift over it. I've been down some probably class 1 and 2 rapids in the Axis, and yeah, it would just go into the wave rather than rise over it. So there is a slight advantage to that extra dead rise, but it means it's a little bit slower and it doesn't quite track as well. But that's basically it, the guys. I'll drop some footage of me, how I fitted the skeg and the drop down skeg here, as I said. So that'll give you some sort of indicator of an option if you were intending to buy one of these. But other than that, they're fairly similar boats, and I've been very happy with the Dagger brand. So yeah, it's sort of something that I'll stick to now if I was to go into another boat. But certainly this boat's going to be a long-term keeper. Hopefully I might get to do a bit of camping out of it at some stage, but certainly over the last sort of 6 weeks that I've owned it, I've had it out probably about 6 times and in all sorts of conditions, and I'm really loving the exercise of getting out and about. So anyway, guys, hopefully that's a bit of useful information if you're thinking about a Dagger Axis or you're thinking about a Zydeco. As I said, I couldn't find a lot, so yeah, hopefully that's helpful for people out there in YouTube land. Anyway, guys, that's enough waffle for me. Thanks for watching, and we'll hope to see you out in the water.